Hey, welcome back to JG3 Reviews. My name is James, and here I explore the world of fountain pens, ink, and paper. And inside this pen roll, it's a Rickshaw Bagworks pen roll, I have my November pens. It's fall here in Texas, so you already kind of know what's in here is going to go along that theme in terms of the color of the inks that I use, and maybe even the color of the pens that I use. We'll see. To me, this is an interesting roundup of pens for the month, and I'm happy to share it with you. There are things here that are kind of all over the place in terms of style and budget and things like that. And maybe you'll see something here that interests you or catches your eye, or maybe you'll see a pen here that you have as well, and you can share your experiences with that pen in the comments below. Opening that up, whoop, did you get a quick preview there? We come first to the Asvine V126. The other day, somebody was asking me questions about the V126. It was after my review of the V800, which is an excellent fountain pen, and it made me go back and re-ink my V126 because I really enjoy this pen, and I got to thinking, that is just the right color for fall, and it would pair well with an ink that I was looking for an excuse to put in a pen, and that is Diamine Ancient Copper. This is a vac-filled pen, has a really good capacity. I don't have it completely full right now. I've been writing with it some, but it's just an excellent pen and tremendously good value. And for some people, this was the first one of the Asvine pens that really caught their attention and got them on the old Asvine bandwagon. Now, as a vac filler, it does, of course, have a safety valve, so you open that up when you're going to write with the pen. It posts just fine, but I'm not going to do that today. And I find this to be just a really reliable pen. And look how well this pen and paper combo is bringing out the shading of that ancient copper ink. Now this nib is a medium. Steel nib, number 6. And I really like it. It's nice and smooth, very, as I said earlier, reliable. It's bringing out the shading there. Flow is really good. I just always enjoy writing with this pen. Again, that's Diamine Ancient Copper. That is a favorite ink for me. I know it's a favorite ink for a lot of you as well. I'm just going to go on outside the margins here. Nobody's grading this paper. And that ink just always fantastic. The spiral, by the way, is one of those big box spirals. I think it's Just Basics, made in Vietnam. That's the important part. They make some really good paper for inexpensive spirals that just really plays well with various fountain pens and ink. Now the next pen is one that's fairly new to my collection. This is a Waterman Expert 3. I got this used off of eBay, but let me tell you, it looks more like new old stock when you look at it. If this was really used, I would be shocked. Very nice blue acrylic barrel. I bought this one. I actually was looking for black and gold, but I bought this one instead because I really like this chromed cap with the grooves cut around it. Just to me, looks really good. I bought this because I reviewed a long time ago the Waterman Expert. I believe it was an Expert 2, but my memory could be faulty on that. And it belonged to a really good friend of the channel. And ever since then, I've had in the back of my mind, someday I'm probably going to get one of those Waterman Experts. And I just found this wonderful deal on eBay with the combo of that nice cap and a medium nib, and I bit. And I've really enjoyed this pen so far. Snap cap, of course. It also snaps when you post it. Very secure cappage going on with the Expert from Waterman. Very comfortable in hand, and that was one of the things that appealed to me. Not only does it have a nice smooth nib, but I found the grip section comfortable. It's a balanced pen, and just overall really great quality. As I said, this nib, really nice and smooth. Flows really nicely. Also a medium. This one, of course, you can see, writes a bit more broadly than the Asvine medium. And ink today is Waterman's own Serenity Blue. Like I said, the pen just writes very smoothly. There's just a slight bit of the smoothest pencil feedback. I like that. That's something that I like. I like that tactile feel of a nib when it writes that way. And this one does it and does it very well. Just a great looking pen. And again, quality, fantastic. Now the next pen is a recent review. This is the Monteverde MP1. It is a piston filler pen, and I have in this one the Mercury Orange ink. Comes as a set. This is a special edition over at Gold Spot Pens. There is a link below. In that case, I actually am an affiliate, and I appreciate that because that just helps me to purchase more items to share here and review on the channel. Now, as I mentioned in that recent review, I really like this pen. There are a few little quirks that I would like to see improved. I think it's a little bit too difficult to pull this out for some users. I mean, it's okay for me, but it can be so stubborn at times that you might splatter ink as you pull that knob back, or especially as you snap it back into place. But overall, the piston mechanism works great. I'm not having dry out issues with the pen, and I like the overall style and the writing experience. This one does also have an ergonomic three-sided grip, kind of like, but not identical to, the Lamy Safari. Okay, I can't mention other pens while trying to write the name of this one. I'll write the wrong thing down. Again, that's the Monteverde MP1. And this one is actually an OmniFlex nib. You do get a nice line variation, and that brings out some shading from that ink, and I really like it. Whoops, picked up the pen in a weird way. I don't know what I was doing. Again, that is Mercury Orange. And the ink I like. It also has some nice shading. Now, I don't think on this paper, no, this paper is really great with fountain pen ink, but on some, that can go through just a little bit. I have had that experience. But overall, both the ink and the pen, really enjoying that. Now, a pen that is just a perennial favorite in my pen roll that almost never goes uninked and always with the same ink is my Lamy 2000. This month is no exception to that. I just recently did a review, and if you haven't seen that yet, you're going to want to check that out. I love the fine nib in this pen. It's a gold nib, and what was I about to do there? Diamine, right? Yes, diamine. It's a gold nib, and it just writes really well. I don't have the sweet spot issues that some people have. I don't know if that's the grind of this pen or just luck. I have no idea. But I find that this pen just writes very well. It is a reliable workhorse pen. As I mentioned in the review, I like that it is both a slick, modern Bauhaus design, and at the same time, that allows it to be an under-the-radar, subtle pen. And I really like that about the Lamy 2000. Just a classic that is such because it deserves to be just a fantastic pen. Now, next might be quite different in your mind from a Lamy 2000. At the other end of the budget is a Jinhao Didao 9019. That's a lot to say, but it's a pen worthy of a longer name, because this really is a big pen. In fact, let me just pull that Lamy 2000 back out. The Lamy 2000 is not a small pen, and yet you can see there, diameter-wise, it's tiny compared to the Didao, and it is shorter as well. And it will be a world of difference between the nib sizes, because this has a number 8 nib, and this is a medium. I bought this a while back because I kept seeing this one in this olive green, and I really like the color of this acrylic. I think it pairs well with the gold-colored trim. It suits the pen well. Now, a cool feature of this pen too, let me open this back up, is that you have a nice large capacity converter. However, you can see I've used up most of the ink in this particular pen. And that's because I really like writing with the pen. I don't know how you get more bang for your buck than this pen. There are other ones out there I like every bit as much, and some even more. But this is just fun. This is a pen that costs like a sandwich these days and will be with you a lot longer than your ham and cheese. Really, really a fun pen. And naturally, this one too has kind of an autumn-inspired ink in it today. That nib is fantastic, I'm telling you. It's medium as well. And this is a Monteverde ink. It is Jade Noir. Man, that thing just writes so well. And if you haven't tried one of these yet, you may want to. Just be aware, it's a big pen. So if big grips are not your thing, well then, buy the 9016 just below it, or the 9013 if you need to go even smaller. And I think you will find pens that you really enjoy. Those other two are number 6 nibs, but they're really good number 6 nibs for the money. The 9019, I highly recommend that one. Now the next one is a pen that I have not used for a while. I've owned it for a long time. It's a special edition Conklin pen, and it is the Duragraph in black and rose gold. This was a special edition with Goulet pens a few years ago that I jumped on. I'm generally not a rose gold person. I think I said that in the review of this pen. But something about the combination I thought looked pretty cool, and I was wanting to try a Conklin with the updated Jowo nibs. I mean, I kind of knew what to expect from Jowo, but I wanted to see the combo I had just reviewed, or was about to review, I forget the timing exactly, some Conklins that had the old Conklin nibs. And I wanted to see how different the writing experience would be once they changed nib suppliers. And I really enjoyed this pen. Now, like I said, I hadn't written with it in a while, but that's just because there's too many things in rotation in my house. There's just too many pens. I got to thin the herd. The other day, I was looking for an excuse to use this pen, and the excuse was Yamaguri. I thought this is a great brown. I wanted a brown ink. I wanted it to be a dark brown ink, and this is kind of a charcoal brown. I really like the Yamaguri from Iroshizuku, and paired with this pen and its, I almost said stubborn nib. That would not be true at all. Stub, nib, those are not the same thing. This pen and its stub nib, it just all comes together, and I really do like it. Now, hopefully, I actually have enough ink to get all the way across here, because I've been writing with this a lot in the last week, and I know that it's just nearly empty. I actually pressed the converter down just to get a little bit more ink out of it, because it's just down to the last drops. Now you will notice that the black coating on my nib is starting to wear off along the slit there on the nib. Doesn't bother me. It's had a good life, and that just means I've clearly been using the pen, even if it hasn't been lately. And this is a 1 point, I'm going to say 1 if my memory is correct. I don't have my reading glasses on to read that tiny little thing on the nib, but I think it's a 1.1. And as I said, this is Yamaguri. It's a nice smooth stub. I like the line variation you get from these. I really like the way this pen writes. And I've used it for some personal notes, thank you notes, and things like that in the last week, and reminded me again why I like this pen. Now, one fascinating thing about it in this material, this matte black material, which has held up, I was kind of curious how it would hold up on the matte texture, and it's held up very well, but it's also very light. This is not a heavy pen. In fact, this is on the table next to me. Why don't I just check that out and see? It is 0.85 ounces, 24 grams. That's with a low fill. It doesn't have very much ink in it, so that's pretty close to the base weight. And that part might surprise some people. It did when I bought it. But that matte texture feels really good in hand. It's a comfortable pen to write with, and mine has had 0 issues. I'm glad I took the chance with that one. Now, the other pen that I've got inked up is here in my Lockby folio, and I think I just closed that. What am I doing? What am I even doing? And that is the Eureka Sentry. I love this pen, and one thing I like about that Lockby folio is that it has a pen slot which works great for pens that don't have a clip. Because most of the time the pen I have with me, if it's not a pocket pen, is one in a shirt pocket. And so that means that this pen doesn't always get to go with me, and neither does my Gravitas polycarbonate. Now, this pen just ran out of ink, and that's made room for the Sentry in that Lockby folio. And both of those pens, excellent. I just keep them with a basic blue. I'm going to try and remember while I'm writing along here which blue this is. But this is just an excellent pen by Eureka. This is made of PEEK material. It will absolutely survive things that I will not. And it has a Bach nib and just excellent. And I can leave this pen easily a couple of months longer, as I did with this one, and I can go to write with it, and it will be as if I inked it up yesterday. Now you can hear that this does have a definite audible feedback. Again, it's a nice pencil-y feedback, more textured than the Waterman that I mentioned earlier, but still pleasant. And this is, I think I remember now, this is a BPC, Birmingham Pen Company, blue. This is back when they farmed out their ink. And I think we're all happy that they're making their own again. But I bought a whole bunch of their cartridges on clearance, and I keep them in certain pens just because they're handy. And when I travel, a lot of times that's what I take with me as backup. This pen, I will tell you, to look at it, you might think at first, well, that's not very interesting, but you'd be wrong. The incredibly tough material that it's made of, the precision with which Eureka makes their pens, that long section is just about perfect. The threads are fantastic. You can often just give that a spin. Look at that. You see that? One turn and it's down. It'll just freewheel all the way to the end, and I love it. It's just a fun pen. Looks can be deceiving. You should not judge a pen solely by how it looks from the outside, because this one might seem overly simple. It might seem a little bit too minimalist, but I'm telling you, what they've done is pare it down to where nothing was left but excellence. I like this pen that much. I'm going to say that. And by the way, I feel the same way about the polycarbonate Gravitas. One of my favorite grip sections is this pen right here. The nib in it, I think, is Yovo, if I remember right, on this particular pen. But it's just excellent, and both of them, you know, they'll out-survive me. I'll be dust, and these things will still be working in somebody's collection. All right, those are the pens that I have right now in my collection that I have inked up right now. I got a couple other strays around here somewhere. I've always got a few strays that are inked up somewhere. But these are the ones I'm carrying right now. And looking at my ink colors here, this is what I'm going to say. I still will be inking up a couple more. I believe we need, if it's going to be fall, you've got those gold leaves out there. And I think I'm going to find an excuse to ink something up with a really beautiful gold ink. I like, for example, the Pen BBS Guangzhou Yellow. That could go really well for fall. Or the Diamine, what is that? Golden Sands, a shimmering ink that looks great in the fall. Anyway, Ancient Copper and Mercury Orange, bringing those leaf colors. You got that Yamaguri, which is a nice woodsy color, the Jade Noir, because there is still some green. There are the evergreens that grow like the pines in my yard, and 3 shades of the blue sky above. That's as autumn as it gets. But what would you use? What would you add? I mentioned a couple of inks I'm probably going to add somehow or another. What would you add if you wanted this to be a more complete fall palette? And who knows? Maybe you'll give me an excuse to ink up another pen. Maybe I'll have to get out a second pen roll. You tell me in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, be sure and give it a like, subscribe, because I'm not going to quit making any videos anytime soon. And as always, God bless you, and I hope you have a great week.